TALRadio is a key part of the Touch a Life Foundation, where we like to share stories of kindness and information on how we can connect those in need of assistance with those who are generous enough to offer it. Today on the Robert Hicks Show, we have a representative from Great Plains SPCA, a Merriam, Kansas-based independent 501c3 nonprofit. Great Plains SPCA offers life-saving services for animals. I want to welcome Madison Brown, who is the marketing and events coordinator at Great Plains SPCA. Thanks for coming on TALRadio, Madison.
Hello, Robert. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're really glad to learn about Great Plains SPCA. So, got a number of questions for you. And as I mentioned prior to starting the show, this is all about hopefully connecting GPSPCA with the TALRadio listeners who hopefully some will be generous enough to help you guys out. So, Madison, you're the marketing and events coordinator for GPSPCA, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Tell us a little bit about what you do there for the organization.
So, kind of the main thing I do is more marketing than events, I'd say. I do the social media every day, so you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Great Plains SPCA. We do like 2 posts every day, so you can keep up with our adoptable animals, keep up with our medical cases, anything that's new, with stuff that's going on at the shelter. And then, like I said, I also do events. So, sometimes we bring puppies out to puppy parties. We bring adoptable dogs out to events. We kind of do a little bit of everything. And then I kind of just market our animals and kind of show what kind of families they would fit into and what kind of animals we have available for adoption.
Yeah, so sharing with our listeners kind of from the basics, the Merriam, Kansas is essentially in the Kansas City metro area, right?
That is correct.
And you're on the Kansas side, right?
Yep, we are.
Yeah, so Great Plains SPCA being located there, is there kind of a scope or a geographic limitation that your organization typically works with? I was seeing something about like 7 municipalities, right?
Yes, we cover quite a large geographic location. Chances are, if your dog gets lost in the Kansas City area, he's probably going to end up coming to us because, like you mentioned, we do cover 7 municipalities or cities like Overland Park, Kansas City, Lake Quivira.
Yeah, I've got the list in front of me.
Huge area. Yep.
Yeah. Leawood, if I'm saying that right.
Yep, Leawood.
Lenexa, Prairie Village, Shawnee, Bonner Springs, Lake. Did you say Lake Quivira? Is that how that's pronounced?
All those locations are kind of spread out all over Kansas, so we do cover a very big portion of the Kansas area.
Okay, and also Johnson County Parks Department and also the Johnson County Sheriff's Department. These are just things that I picked up from your website, not not that I'm any expert or anything like that. But the other thing that's a little interesting that I noticed is, everybody kind of knows the SPCA, the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And it's an organization that obviously is, I guess it's countrywide and or global. And Great Plains SPCA is kind of its own organization, right? It's not necessarily affiliated in any formal way with those other organizations, correct?
That is correct. We are our own entity. We do also stand for the Society and Prevention of Cruelty of Animals, but we do not have any partnership with the SPCA or anything. We just kind of did model ourselves similarly after them.
Yeah. So certainly, as our listeners hear a bit about your story, we certainly want to encourage them to specifically seek out the Great Plains SPCA. We'd love to help you guys out, and we'll talk in a little bit about how they can connect with you and you with them. But also, obviously, like I say, there are similar organizations around the world. But so tell us a little bit about how long is Great Plains SPCA, and I may tend to mention it as GP SPCA a few times, just for to be brief. But tell us a little bit about the organization, how long it's been around, kind of how it got its start.
Yeah, so we kind of have a very interesting story. We started all the way back in 1966 as Animal Haven. We started on the Missouri side, in Independence, Missouri. And then we moved to Merriam, Kansas in 2011, where we partnered with No More Homeless Pets. And then we changed our name to Great Plains SPCA.
Yeah, so you guys are as old as me almost.
Yeah, we've been around for a while, that's for sure.
Yeah, so kind of, are you able to give us an idea, sort of what size of organization GPSPCA is? I mean, like, how many employees and or volunteers, if you have any of those kinds of numbers?
Yeah, so I'd say we have about 50 plus employees, and then we have a database of about 300 to 400 volunteers, but I'd say active volunteers, more probably about 150 volunteers.
Okay, cool. Very good. So you've been with the organization how long?
I've been with the organization for a little over a year, about a year and 3 months.
Oh, really? So what kind of drove you to the Great Plains SPCA?
So
did it just happen that you kind of tripped over a little bit, or did your heart take you there? That's what I'm
I think I kind of always knew that I was meant for a job like this. So when I graduated high school at the age of 18, I got a job at PetSmart working with the animals. And then, I went off to college and got a degree in communications with an emphasis in PR. And I was like, I just really want to make a difference in this world. I want to do something where I feel like every single day I'm making a difference in this world. So I started applying at a few places, and then I interviewed at Great Plains SPCA, and they asked me to come in to do a tour. And as I was walking around, the employees were just so nice. Every single one of the staff members was just super welcoming. The animals seemed incredibly happy. They were clean. They were well taken care of. And I was just really overwhelmed by how kind everybody was, and then just how well they took care of the animals. It blew me away, and they offered me the job, and I was ecstatic. I instantly said yes and took the job.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm not sure if I should visit an SPCA because I probably would get dragged into a job because definitely a pet lover, so I can certainly relate to that. So what kind of pets does Great Plains work with?
Yeah. So, obviously, when you hear of an animal shelter, you think of dogs and cats, which is obviously our main animals that we have here, but we pretty much will accept any animal as long as it's feasible for us. So since I've been here, we've had chickens, guinea pigs, hamsters, birds, reptiles. I think the biggest animal we had was maybe like a teacup pig, and we usually, if we can't keep it here at the shelter, then we'll find a foster for it and get it adopted.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But largely dogs and cats, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I understand from looking at your website that GPSPCA's stated mission is to drive change in our community through innovative programs that promote adoption, outreach, and a better life for pets and the people who love them. So that's very interesting. And like I say, we're going to talk a little bit about how, because here on TALRadio, we like to connect the people who have needs to get help from either individuals or even corporations. We like to connect those people with so many persons or corporations that might be so generous. There's typically a lot of people out there willing to do that, but they may not be able to find each other. So let me take just a moment to mention the Touch a Life Foundation is similarly a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization. It's founded on the principle that helping others is good for society. And we leverage technologies to essentially connect those in need with those who are willing to give. And so we have the Touch a Life Foundation, and Touch a Life Foundation actually has an app for your mobile phone. And this is for you, Madison, as well as our listeners, that basically, we do ask you to download the app. It is called TAL, T-A-L, from Touch a Life. TAL Giving is the name of the app, and it's a platform to help organizations like Great Plains SPCA and so many others. So if you go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, you can download that app. And so that's what the Touch a Life Foundation is, and the TAL Giving app. But TALRadio itself, where we're discussing this right now, it's essentially the information and entertainment arm of that Touch a Life Foundation. And on TALRadio, we broadcast both entertainment programs, podcast videos, and blogs that are all made to basically strengthen that TAL radio vision of spreading kindness through shared stories and information. So get that app, and hopefully we'll be able to get you connected to either Great Plains SPCA or another organization like that. So, Madison, are there any kind of stories that stand out to you personally, like one that kind of hit your heart kind of special? Like maybe sometime recently, I guess everything you've done is like in the past year or so. Any kind of recent accomplishment that maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, totally. So one thing that comes to mind that really makes me proud that like I said, I wanted a job that I felt like I could make a difference in the world. And recently I felt like I was exactly able to do just that. Sometimes being the marketing person, I'm not the one in the field seeing the animals. Yeah. So I feel like sometimes it's hard to be the one making the difference. But I was just, doing my usual thing, checking social media when I saw somebody messaged the Great Plains SPCA Facebook account and said, "Hey, I know of an animal that's in need. They're in a bad situation. The animal needs help. Can you help them?" I reached out to our hero team. They said, "Hey, I can go get that dog tomorrow." We immediately went out, saved the dog. He was living on a short chain outside in this 100 degree heat. He's a Great Pyrenees. And, he was living in mud and fills and just no kind of life for a beautiful Great Pyrenees like that. So we talked to the owner. We got her to surrender the pet, sign him over to us. We groomed him, bathed him, neutered him, got him all cleaned up. He was adopted 2 days later. That's
really cool. Complete turnaround, and you get to see that happen. That's gotta that's gotta make you feel good.
Yeah, and if I could add on, and the adopters even already reached out to us on Facebook and sent us pictures of him, and he gets to live, indoors finally with a family with 2 kids and another dog, and he's just living his best life. It really just warms my heart. That's
really cool. That's really neat. So let's kind of step through a little bit, if we can, about what the major services that Great Plains SPCA is involved in. Because we all kind of know the general mission, but can you? And also, by the way, I want to make sure we'll tell our listeners about the Great Plains SPCA website where they can get a lot of the information. Yeah. I know I was perusing it in prep for this discussion, but let's just talk a little bit about the major areas of services that you guys provide.
Yeah, so some services that we provide to our community in the Kansas City area is, especially right now, money can be pretty tight. We're all kind of dealing with the financial burdens of the economy right now. And so we do offer a pet food pantry to our community. Say maybe you're down on your luck, you're running short on money this week, you can't feed your pet. That's okay. You can come to us. We will give you a bag of dog food, bag of cat food. Let us know how many animals you need to feed. We'll get you what you need to make sure that they're taken care of. So that's one big service that we offer. We do also offer public training classes. Maybe you adopt a new puppy. He's a little much. He's being mouthy with the new kids. You can take him to our training classes. We'll teach you some new ways to help you with that puppy behavior and keep him in that home and, say out of the shelter with us.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I have been one of the worst. I mean, I'm a very loving pet owner, but obviously not doing it right because the behavior of my pets historically is not good. I would love to have known that organizations like yours offered those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's kind of like
others you'd like to tell us about?
Oh yeah, we have. We also do, like we mentioned, our Hero program, where so that's kind of like our outreach, where our employees are out in the field. We have a Great Plains SPCA Hero van. It's a big white van where we just kind of drive around the Kansas City area and look for animals in need, especially out in this heat. We know that, an animal isn't going to be able to do well outside chained up in this heat. So we drive around just looking for animals who need some fresh water, some shade. We'll get them set up with a dog house. Maybe we'll knock on the door, see if their owners maybe need a bag of dog food. Just get these animals set up with whatever they need. Say we'll drive around looking for stray cats or stray dogs, and we'll bring them into the shelter, get them spayed and neutered, find them a family. Our Hero team is really great. They make a huge difference in our community. That's
really neat because it's so proactive. You're not waiting until something's a disaster and you've got to rebuild the whole situation that way. You're actually out looking proactively. That's really neat.
Yep. And you can also reach out to our Hero team at our email, hero@greatplainspca.org. And you can say you're driving around and you see an animal that's chained up and doesn't have any food or water. You can reach out to our Hero team. We'll go out and investigate.
That's really cool. That's cool. But I would tell you, I would definitely put on a cape if I was going to ride in the van.
Oh yeah, superhero.
Yeah, I saw some of the other things that you've on the websites and things that similarly I'd like you to tell our listeners about. What is Puppies for Parole?
Yeah, so Puppies for Parole, it is very interesting. It's pretty special and unique, I'd say, not something that many shelters do. So we partner with a Missouri correctional facility, and dogs actually get to live at the prison with the inmates, and they get to live it's about 6 to 8 dogs. They all get to live together with the inmates, and they receive daily one-on-one training that will help them in their future forever home. So they get trained commands, they get house trained, just manners. They need to be dog friendly because, like I said, they're living with a whole bunch of other dogs, and it really just helps prepare them for their future home and gets them out of the shelter, which can be a pretty stressful environment.
Yeah. Well, that also sounds like it could be such a reciprocal benefit, to someone that's incarcerated. I'm sure they have limited outlets to socialize and things like that.
Yeah.
But it probably is something that is really good for that person that is incarcerated too. They're in a tough situation, but they actually have the ability to kind of give something back while they're doing their time, right?
Yeah, that's so true. It's very therapeutic, I would say, to even, like I said, they get to live with the inmates. So, jail's obviously not a great place to be, but just having a furry friend there with you obviously makes it at least a little bit better.
I'm sure that's a special thing to get involved in. So, and does your organization have special events that you guys schedule and participate in that maybe you might want to tell our listeners about?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. So we actually have our Hamburger Mary's Ham Bingo charity night coming up on the 24th. We're teaming up with...
That's right quick. Okay.
Yeah, we're teaming up with Hamburger Mary's, which is a bar down in the Kansas City area, and they are going to be putting on a charity bingo night for us, and all the benefits will be going right back to us at Great Plains SPCA. That's
very cool. And I saw there's an event coming up in September. That's the Bark in Sculpture Park, right?
Yep. That one's a little more laid back. Like it says, it's in Sculpture Park in the Kansas City area as well. And you can bring your own dogs. We'll bring some dogs, and it's, I believe, sponsored by Tito's, and they'll be providing some drinks and some other fun stuff, and kind of just a chill outing to bring your pup and meet some of our pups.
Really cool.
Yeah.
That's neat. It sounds like fun. And by the way, just to remind our listeners across our TALRadio listening audience, we're talking with Madison Brown, and Madison is the marketing and events coordinator at Great Plains SPCA in the Kansas City suburb of Merriam, Kansas. And we're learning about their organization and kind of the various services that are provided. So in your role, Madison, how do you kind of mentioned some earlier, I guess, with the social media kind of things, but
Mm-hmm.
are there any other ways that you want to tell us about that, how you reach out to engage with the public from the standpoint of pursuing either volunteers or other types of collaboration with people?
Yeah, I feel like
How do you connect to the community generally?
Gotcha. So I feel like I kind of have like people come up to me and tell me I kind of have the fun position. I get to, I have a very unique job where I get to kind of do the fun things of social media. So like, I'll reach out to maybe the local sports teams. Like we've teamed up with our local soccer team, Kansas City Sporting, and we've brought dogs out to events there, and that, they put them on the Jumbotron and talked about our adoptable animals. Or I've reached out to local philanthropists in our area, and they post them on their social media. Just kind of reaching out to the people in the area and getting creative and having fun with it. Like things like TikTok and Instagram, just making fun videos. Like I took some dogs to the local pet store and let them have a shopping spree. And, that advertised not only our adoptable pets, our shelter, but also that pet store. So just kind of, getting involved with the community and having fun with it.
So really lots of quite a wide variety of ways that you're reaching out to the community. So who, if there is any way to characterize who you target for participation in working with and being a part of Great Plains SPCA's efforts, any kind of specifics there, or is it just virtually anybody?
I would say virtually anybody, as long as you're an animal lover and you want to make a difference, then come on down to Great Plains SPCA and we'll welcome you with open arms. Yeah.
So with our listeners kind of hearing or, sensing, as we've discussed, that you guys need help, what are the ways that our listeners can help Great Plains SPCA? Let's talk about the variety of different things they can do, because one thing they could do is like be a volunteer, right?
Yeah. So you can obviously volunteer with us, like you mentioned, or you can foster some of our pets. Like I said, the shelter is a very stressful place. Some of the dogs just do not do well here, and then they thrive in that home environment, and they really just need a break. So our fosters are super valuable to us. And then just, even if you have a few extra dollars and you could donate to us, like you mentioned, we're a nonprofit organization. We do not receive any funding from the government. Everything is strictly by donations. So we do have like things like our Amazon wish list that's on our website. So maybe just donating a package of toys, or looking on our website and just donating a couple dollars makes a huge difference to these animals.
Yeah. So I saw on your webpage, which, by the way, let me mention this because so our listeners don't have to go just searching, but if you go to www.greatplainspca.org, that's where you can find the Great Plains SPCA website with loads of information on it. And I was looking on there and saw pictures of the people doing the Puppies for Parole, the guys doing that stuff, and all the information that you can find about GPSPCA is located there. When you're talking about volunteering, I noticed that there are people that might volunteer as individuals, but can you tell us about this? I saw the corporate volunteer experience. That sounded a little different. I thought maybe our listeners would like to hear about that.
Yeah, so that's kind of something new that we've gotten into. Say, you work for a big corporation, for example. We just had Amazon reach out, and they're going to have like 15 of their employees come out and get the volunteer experience, where instead of, if you're an individual volunteer, you're kind of walking dogs, hanging out with the cats, whereas the volunteer experience, you're meeting the CEO, you're meeting our shelter vet team, you get to make enrichment for the animals. Maybe you're helping with a special project or helping out with some laundry. You kind of get more of the behind the scenes look at the shelter, I'd say.
Yeah, I saw that, where you actually get a corporate volunteer experience T-shirt as part of that experience. And the other thing too that sounds pretty neat about it is to be with other people that you may work with every day and get to experience together with them. That's really cool too. So in terms of donations, how can people donate? I mean, because I noticed on the website there are different types of donations. Like in some cases, there's a one-time donation. Other people might do things like something that is ongoing, or even, I'm presuming when they pass on or something, they might designate a donation or something like that. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that, some of the different ways of donating?
Yeah, so you can, like I said, like maybe you just have a few extra dollars and you want to be a one-time donor. You can go to our website, click the donations tab and click the one-time donation, donate a few dollars, or you could say you want to donate every single month. You could become one of our monthly donors, or as you mentioned, you could put in your will that you, when you pass away, you would like your money to go to us. That's called a bequest. You could bequest your money to go to Great Plains SPCA so that these homeless pets are being taken care of all because of you, even though you've passed on. That's a great way to cherish your memory. We even have, you can sponsor kennels, you can do sponsorships, really. And as I mentioned, you can do our Amazon wish list, our Chewy wish list. There's quite a few ways that you could donate to help our homeless pets.
Yeah, so I know you kind of touched on this a little bit when I asked you about accomplishments. And by the way, I was reading that for the organization's accomplishment, it said on the website, we proudly report a live release rate of 98% or higher.
Mm-hmm.
It says our live release rate is calculated by the number of adoptions, returns to owners, transfers, and other live outcomes for a given time period, divided by the total number of animals the shelter brought in for that same period. But that's a really high success rate.
Yep. We really, that's something that really drew me into the shelter, and something that I'm really proud of. A lot of shelters, they unfortunately do have to euthanize because of space and unfortunate circumstances like that. And we make sure that that is not something that happens here. We really take pride in our live release rate, and that's something that's going to stay that high in the future.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned earlier, you have about 150 active volunteers, about 50 employees in the organization. Mm-hmm. But as far as kind of like measuring the impact, not just that the performance rate being so high, but also that the GP SPCA provides the life-saving services for approximately 4,000 animals annually in the mm-hmm. Kansas City area, right?
Yep, that's correct.
So obviously you guys are having quite an impact and quite a success rate, and that's really cool. Mm-hmm. I know we're kind of going to wrap up our conversation here in just a moment or two, but I wanted to just ask you, this is a question I ask whenever I'm talking to someone that is in your position where you're doing this kind of stuff, helping other people, helping animals, or, just helping the community every day. And like I say, you mentioned the one experience that you had, mm-hmm. but tell me from a general sense what this means to you as a person. And you'll see how I tie this in just a moment, but tell me what this means to you as a person to be able to be in this kind of a role, doing this kind of work, and and what you get out of it. What does it do for you personally?
Yeah. So, like I said, I feel like I have a very special role. I feel very lucky. This is my dream job. And, sometimes I just feel like I am able to make a huge difference, being able to run the social media, and we have this huge following. We have an animal that's in need. And, for one example, we had a dog, a beautiful Rottweiler that was dumped in our parking lot and tied up to the fencing. And, her owner obviously didn't want her anymore. And luckily I was able to do a post on her that day, and it just went viral, and our inbox was overflowing with people that wanted to adopt her, and she got adopted that next day. And her current adopter is updating me with how wonderful she's doing. And I went home that night knowing I made a difference in that dog's life. I'm the reason that she is now in this loving home. And I got to say, that makes me feel good, like to know that because I made that post, I saved this dog's life. And I just feel so special that I'm able to make that kind of impact.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that, Madison. This is Madison Brown, the Marketing and Events Coordinator at Great Plains SPCA in the Kansas City area. And I'll tell you why I asked that question. Because this conversation and TALRadio is all about giving our listeners, whether regional, global, anywhere in the world, giving them the opportunity to also share in that kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because Madison gets so much out of this, I'm sure the other workers there at the Great Plains SPCA feel similarly. And that's got to really be fun to have a job where you just totally feel like you're making such a difference. And so to our listeners, I say we do hope that you will connect with the Great Plains SPCA and go to their website, get information about it, certainly volunteer. It's certainly going to give you a whole lot of good feeling back. And, that's really what TALRadio and the Touch of Life Foundation is all about, connecting you to organizations like Great Plains SPCA. A reminder once again to please download the TAL Giving app. You can find it right there on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. And we do hope that you'll be able to do something to help Great Plains SPCA out. So, Madison, I want to thank you for being with us today. It's been great hearing about this and just the work you guys are doing and so effective at it. That's just really exciting stuff.
Well, thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.
It really strikes me, because I think back to when I was young, about how commonplace animals wandering the streets used to be a lot of years ago. And you guys in organizations like you have kind of made that, so much, so less frequently the case. And that's really exciting stuff. But again, Madison, thanks for joining us. And listeners, please do help them out. Whether you volunteer, send them a donation. We want to thank Madison Brown from the Great Plains SPCA for meeting with us today to share their story. I'm Robert Hicks, and we thank you, our listeners, for spending time with us today, and most of all for your generous nature in following us. Please do stay tuned to the TALRadio listening experience, and we will consistently be feeding you additional uplifting stories like this. Have a good day.